Hey there, this is Dane from featherprop.com. Thanks for joining me today. I'd like to talk about why no other religion has an Easter. And this to me is an incredibly fascinating topic and one that I hope you find the same. Let me begin by pointing out that most world religions have compulsory festivals or times of celebrations. For example, Muslims have Ramadan, which is a holy month of fasting practiced around the world. And of course, Jews have Passover. Christianity, on the other hand, has no mandated celebration. Neither Jesus nor any of his disciples ever decreed that future followers must observe any specific day. As a matter of fact, it would seem that Jesus removed the weekly observation of the Jewish Sabbath by elevating the other 6 days to the same level. Paul added that we're free from judgment if we decide to observe or not observe annual festivals, monthly observations, or even weekly ones. Therefore, to the Christian, every day is a holy day, and none are really any different than the other. But let me also quickly point out that Jesus didn't condemn celebrations. I'm not suggesting that the observation of a holiday is necessarily wrong. Rather, it seems that we are free to celebrate certain days or not to celebrate them. The choice is ours. Paul wrote to the Romans, one man esteems one day above another. Another esteems every day alike. Let each be fully convinced in his own mind. He who observes the day observes it to the Lord. And he who does not observe the day, to the Lord he does not observe it. The God of Christianity has not come to saddle us down with rules and regulations. Rather, he's come to free us from them. If you enjoy celebrating certain days, then celebrate them. If you enjoy not celebrating certain days, then don't. It's really just as easy as that. And while I'm on the subject, let me also point out that Christians have no sacred relics. We have no holy vessels or even special set-apart places where we can or must visit. None. We don't have to point ourselves in certain directions to pray, put on special prayer caps or turbans, or observe any ceremonial washings of hands or instruments because we have no instruments to wash. We have no oils, perfumes, or candles by which we must worship with. If you like using them, great. You just know that you're not required. We also have no building more holy than another or land more holy than another. The dirt in Jerusalem is no more holy than the dirt in North Korea, China, England, or the United States. The beauty of all of this is that a Christian can follow Jesus just as fully and effectively as any other Christian in any other location on the earth. All right, now where was I? So even though Christians don't have any mandate to observe holidays, there is something incredibly interesting about one particular day that we all have on our calendars. We aren't told to observe it, but I find it particularly fulfilling to do so. Traditionally, it has been called Easter, or Resurrection if you prefer, Resurrection Day. And no other religion or faith possesses any day as grand as this one. In fact, it's the very day that sets us, Christians, apart from all other religions or disciplines of the world. Now, unlike all the other world religions, the founder of Christianity has provided an objective reason to know that Christianity is true. That objective reason is Easter. I believe that Jesus pinned his entire life and ministry on his resurrection. For example, in John chapter 2, very early in his ministry, we have record of Jesus clearing the money changers out of the temple. Because of what he did, he appears to be immediately confronted by the religious leaders. How dare he come in and do that to the temple? It was like as if he had owned the place. So they demanded a sign from him, something to demonstrate to them that he had the authority to do what he had just done. Jesus replied in sort of a cryptic way. He said, "Destroy this temple, and in 3 days I'll raise it back up." Although they thought that he was referring to the actual temple in Jerusalem, John makes it clear to his readers that Jesus was actually referring to his body. Therefore, the sign that Jesus was giving was in essence, "Kill me, in 3 days I'll raise myself back up." Now we find a similar conversation in Matthew chapter 12. The religious leaders were once again seeking a sign from Jesus to demonstrate that he had the authority to do what his actions seemed to imply. The reply he gave was also a little cryptic, but still not hard to figure out. He said that just as Jonah was 3 days and nights in the belly of the great fish, so shall the Son of Man be 3 days and nights in the heart of the earth. Once again, Jesus pointed to the same event as proof of his ministry. His death, burial, and ultimate resurrection would be the evidence that anyone should need to verify his claims. Now, I find this extremely interesting. In the history of humankind, no one has ever been able to simply will themselves alive after being dead for several days. Some of you may have internal clocks that tells you when to wake up in the morning at a certain time. Let's say you go to bed and you want to wake up at 6 a.m. And before your alarm even goes off, you're able to just wake up from that internal clock. But this isn't sleep. We're talking about death. And it's an impossible feat. Once someone has died, the life has gone from them. How can they do anything about the present state? They're dead. Therefore, if Jesus, or anyone for that matter, can return from the dead on their own power, then no one can justifiably ignore their claims, because no mere man could ever do that. Now, I'm unaware of any other religious founder who has ever made this kind of claim for very obvious reasons. It's too risky. If you tell people that you're from God and you'll prove it by rising from the dead and then you fail to do so, people will either ridicule or ignore you, or probably both. And it'll be really hard to get a new religion going if people think you're a fool, especially a dead one. So if you're going to start a new religion, I highly recommend you not give yourself the Jesus test. That is, unless you are prepared to rise from the dead. Instead, just do what other false prophets and messiahs have been doing for centuries. Tell people that you're from God and hope that no one asks you to actually demonstrate it. But I believe that Jesus did what no other person could do. He rose from the dead. He not only appeared to his friends, but to some who didn't believe in him, such as his half-brother James and later Saul of Tarsus. Now, the Jewish leaders denounced the resurrection and accused the disciples of stealing the body. This accusation demonstrates one very important thing. The Jews didn't have the body. It's highly improbable that the Romans took the body, since they didn't yet have an interest in this religious argument. But even if they did, they could have later closed the whole matter and settled it and brought it to an end, and the trouble between the Jews and the Christians, by simply producing the corpse. However, they were unable to do this because the Romans didn't have the body. If the disciples stole Jesus' body, then they pulled off the greatest hoax in the history of humankind, because most of them underwent horrible torture and ultimate death without recanting, while living lives destitute of what most false teachers want: money, popularity, and women. All of their torture could have easily been brought to an end by just confessing the truth. One would think that at least one of them, under pain of torture, would have confessed that the body of Jesus was really just tucked away in Matthew's closet or someplace else. You see, a man will die for something he believes to be true, even if it's not. But it's hard to imagine a man, or 11 of them, being tortured and dying for what they knew to be a lie, especially when they won't be benefited by it. That just doesn't make any sense. I believe that they didn't confess because the disciples didn't have the body. Now, I believe that the most reasonable explanation for the empty tomb is that Jesus rose from the dead. It best explains all of the data that we have about the facts of that day. And if he rose from the dead, then he's demonstrated that he is exactly what his words and actions revealed him to be: our God come in the flesh. The first resurrection morning is the historical moment that provides the world with the objective evidence that no other religion could ever hope to bring to the table. For no other religion can have an Easter, because no other prophet or Messiah would dare put themselves to the Jesus test. Thanks for watching. I hope to see you here next time on this channel.